sorry about that. Hello everyone and welcome to the last presentation of our game Atomic Lemon. So I think we should just dive right in with the key elements of the game. So in Atomic Lemon you play as a young girl named Lemon. She lives in a favela and she was born and raised in this favela named Villa de Rondo, but lately her neighborhood has been invaded by a strange entity. So what happened was posters started to appear on the walls and the graffiti were being erased from the buildings, and most of all the inhabitants were being attacked and driven off the neighborhood. So the posters that were on the wall read Juin, and they were advertising for a renovation program that was supposed to destroy the favela in order to build a gentrified neighborhood. So Lemon decided to stay in the favela and to fight for her neighborhood. And so in her quest, she's being accompanied by a sidekick, which is the graffiti of a sloth that is moving alongside her on the walls. So Atomic Lemon is a 3D side-scrolling beat-em-up game in which you control both Lemon and the sloth, and it will be playable on PC with a gamepad or on consoles, and we are targeting players from the age of 15 to 25. So about the main character of our game, Lemon is a fierce young girl who was born and was raised in Villa de Rondo, and she's very protective of her favela because it's the only place that she ever knew. So her family was one of the only ones that stuck around when it was being invaded, and she knows the neighborhood like a back of her hand, which comes in handy because she can explore it and she can jump her way on platform and on rooftops in order to move forward. And she can also dash in the neighborhood in order to have access to the enemies quickly.
So to design Lemon, we had to incorporate the fact that she's a powerful fighter, and that's why we wanted to translate this phrase of a young girl who packs a mean punch literally into her design. And that is why from all the silhouettes we have come up with, we have decided with a small stocky silhouette with exaggerated fists and really big boots, because we think that those are her main features for fighting. And Lemon also has her fist, her boots, and her hair highlighted, so you always see her inside the scenery of the game. And for Lemon's animation, we have wanted to make her look very powerful and look like a master of the fighting arts, and that's why we turned to martial arts for references for her moves. And even though she already looks powerful, we wanted this to make the player feel even more rewarded when they deal a blow, and that is why when at the point of impact in the animation, her fist and her legs are scaled up so as to give her this kind of animation-y, cartoony look. And to go along with this aesthetic, this stylized aesthetic of Lemon, her sound design is far from this real soundscape, and all of her sounds feel powerful. And to make her go in sync with the music of the neighborhood, all of her sounds are triggered on the beat of a 100 beats per minute music, and that's a mix between hip-hop, bossa nova, and Brazilian batucada.
So for her fighting mechanics, the main way that Lemon is going to defend her favela is by actually punching and kicking the enemies. So the first thing that you can do in the game is you can press the X button to give a light hit, and you can accumulate your power and unleash a power kick with the Y button in order to create a powerful combo. And you can also stomp on the enemy by pressing the jump button and the left stick down. And the force of your stomp is going to depend on the height of your jump. So if you jump from a high building, you're going to have a really powerful stomp. And she's also able to counter the enemy attacks. So when an enemy is going to attack her, you can press the B button, and it's going to stun the enemy for a short amount of time. And then you are going to be able to chain with the combo. So Lemon's quest is to reclaim her ground as it's being invaded by a gentrifying entity. So the main way that you're going to reclaim your ground in the game is with street art. So each of the blows that you're going to deal in the game will create a graffiti on the wall behind you. So at the same time, you are fighting Juin, and you're also repainting and giving an act of rebellion against gentrification. But graffiti can also be a really powerful tool and a powerful weapon during the fights. So we have power-ups in the game. So the power-ups are created through graffitis that are fragmented on several props in the background. And as they are reformed, the sloth can activate them and give her a temporary bonus during the fights. So about the sloth. As I said before, he's a living graffiti that is moving on the walls, and he's her trusty sidekick, so he's going to help her during the fights. So it was created by Lemon as an act of rebellion. She decided to paint her favorite animal on the wall, but it started to move and to follow her around, and mostly it started to protect her during the fights. So that's its main purpose in the game. And it's really necessary to have the slots because the enemies have a particular shape that makes them really efficient in invading the favela. So they are able to switch from a 3D plane to the walls. And so the sloth is able to counter the enemy charges when they are on the walls, and is also able to finish Lemon's combo in order to kill them off.
So to design the sloth, we know that technically the sloth is a graffiti, but it has to stand out from all the other ones that we put on the walls when we punch. So that is why we have decided on this simple and flexible silhouette that's in an off-white pinkish with clean and bold black lines to outline the whole silhouette. The sloth is laid back and kind of slow, but at the same time it has to be strong enough to protect Lemon and be her sidekick in this fight for her neighborhood. And that is why you can see that most of its walking animation and its actions are done with a happy face because it's kind of laid back. It's happy to follow her around, but when it needs to be, it can be a very fierce fighter, as you can see from the last animation we put here, that its face has changed. It can be fierce when it needs to be. As for the sound design, we wanted the sloth to have this kind of feel of protection and this feel of power as it is inside its concrete jungle that is the walls of the favela. And that is why when it is activating its finish moves, for example, the whole soundscape will change according to the move that is done by the sloth.
So the enemy that you have to find in the game, as I've introduced you a bit before, are not a singular being, but really a proteoform entity that is invading the favela in order to gentrify it. So they have two different forms, and when they are in the arena, they are a 3D, dark, fluid, and human-like creature that is going to attack Lemon and to fight her. And you have roughly two types of enemies in the arena in the vertical slice. You have an enemy named Luta, which is the enemy that is going to fight Lemon hand-to-hand on the ground. And you have the enemy named Bala, which is the enemy that is going to shoot projectiles to Lemon from a far distance. And so when the enemy is weak enough, it's going to flee to the walls and to attack the sloths. So when they are on the wall, they are shapeless blood that is going to move really quickly, and is going to dash on the sloth to attack it. So the sloth is able to counter this attack and is also able to finish the combo of Lemon to kill them.
So for the enemies, we didn't want this to be a fight between people. We want this to be more of a fight between a person or a concept and another concept that this time is gentrification. And that is why we have decided on this kind of blobby silhouette, even though humanoid, but still not actually defined as a real human being. And in its 3D form, when it is fighting Lemon, this is the type of enemy we have come up with, a type of dark fluid-like viscous thing that is between tar and black paint, and it's highlighted so as to not be totally unseen during the fights, but at the same time black enough to make it feel like it doesn't belong in this colorful and vivid neighborhood. And we have different types of minions that are inside the game, and they are differentiated by their morphology and their specific animations, and also by a slight color change that will help you identify their different patterns in the game. When they are on the walls, we wanted to keep a kind of correlation between this form and the 3D form, and that is why we came up with this stain-like substance that is really dark purple, and so it goes with the color that we came up before. And at the same time, we conserved these big big white eyes that are menacing stares, so as to remind the way they were looking at you in the 3D phase.
So the main way that the sloth is going to really interact with the enemy on the walls is with the counter, as I've said before. So when a joueur is weak enough, he's going to switch to the wall and is going to dash through the sloth to attack it. So the sloth can counter it, and you have to press the LT and the B button to send it back to the arena. And when an enemy has a really low health bar, he's going to flee to the wall one last time to attack the sloth and to get a refuge. So when the enemy is blinking like this, it means it's going to die. So you have to press the LT button and the Y button in order to finish it.
So now that we've talked about the characters, we should all wrap this up with the setting of the game that is Lemon's favela. And from the start, we know that we wanted vivid and flamboyant colors in these neighborhood. Even though they're run down, they should still feel like there are people living in there, and there's this liveliness that comes out of it. And from the reference photos we used during our research phase, we looked at favelas from Rio de Janeiro, and the thing that stood out was this sense of verticality and disorganization that we find in these types of neighborhood, and that is what during our research phases and in the end during our modelization phases, as you can see with our 3D houses, we have tried to conserve this kind of organized and stacked twisting and turning houses that basically are still magically standing even though they feel like they should not be. And we've decided on different colorful color swaps for these houses to add to the diversity of the level. And as you can see inside the game, we have also added more modular things that can be placed onto the house to diversify them even more. For example, windows, doors, curtains, and also procedural assets such as power poles and pipelines that will help link all of the houses to blocks together. And also because there are special needs inside the game, we have a more platform phase that you can use to explore the neighborhood with more busy looking houses. And at the same time on the right, you can see an arena phase that we had to tone down on these roughed edge and these busy looking things, so as you can actually focus on the fight and see what's happening on the walls. And all of this neighborhood is put inside a soundscape of music that's on a 100 beats per minute. It's a mix between hip-hop sampling and bossa nova, and it helps you feel a kind of attachment to this neighborhood.